This program was made possible by a generous grant from Rex and Ruth Maughan.
Physical needs. There are just, an overwhelming number of people that have physical needs.
The poor people don't have political power. They're the most powerless, voiceless people in the world. No one really has much incentive to pay them any attention, even though they are the intended beneficiaries of foreign aid.
Will we always have the poor amongst us? I think the answer to that is yes.
Crisis relief will always be needed. So we need to find ways where we can reach out to people in a way that will lift them up.
Sometimes when you live in the United States, it's easy to think that we're the axle, that the wheel of the world turns around. And when you come over here to the other side of the world, you recognize that there are hundreds of millions of people. Things that we feel like we have to be able to be happy has been so changed.
There's so much more we can
contact another person by way of a repeater, but they can also dial the stake president.
On a regular basis, the church holds emergency response committee meetings. When we're not responding to a disaster, we talk about how can we improve? Do we have emergency communication in place? Do we have the resources in the welfare services program to respond?
For the probabilities of a Category 3, 4, 5 hurricane hitting landfall.
We have been, as a church, preparing for some very extenuating circumstances, not being doomsday oriented, but just being prudent in our preparation.
Days before this meeting, Humanitarian Services of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints received a phone call. Only 1.5 years after the devastating tsunami, again disaster finds Indonesia. An earthquake measuring 6.3 on the Richter scale has struck Indonesia's Java coast, crippling the resources of an already strained Indonesia.
I returned, a week ago Friday, from Indonesia, and what they're finding out as they're getting into it is that this is a more complex emergency than they ever thought that it would be. They said that there's been 1.5 million houses destroyed. More houses destroyed in this earthquake than at Banda Aceh. Survivors are having a more difficult time than they ever imagined.
In immediate response, Humanitarian Services prepared hundreds of tons of food, clothing, hygiene kits, and emergency medical supplies in a joint effort with an Islamic charitable organization, Islamic Relief Worldwide.
We found out that you already have material ready to go, plus you can put together other material that can be helpful. And we talked about the airlift. We made a decision that we will support the cost of the airlift and the fuel and getting an airplane ready and so on. And immediately we start working. So we got the approval from our board to spend the funds. We gave the green light, and the church's response was just fascinating.
The partnership with Islamic Relief dates back before the 2004 tsunami.
Latter-day Saint Charities in the church has had a pre-tsunami history and experience with Islamic Relief. They have been a co-funder in providing transportation where the church would provide a plane load of supplies in emergency response, and Islamic Relief would participate in the cost of the transportation of the plane.
We've been partners for a couple of years now. We took a lot of responsibilities responding to people that really need help in different parts of the world. We find that the relationship is very effective and it is saving lives.
The plane was absolutely heaven sent. It was just incredible how the items we had were what they wanted, and the medical supplies, which it took 12 trucks to transport from the plane down to our chapel in Yogyakarta, where we put it together, were eventually distributed to 46 clinics and 23 hospitals.
I think we have something in common, and that's we do not have any terms or conditions. When we go help somebody that's hungry, we don't tell him, are you, what is your religion, or what are we going to get for this? When people see that how sincere you are and you're there to save their lives regardless, that makes it a very, very good feeling, and that's, I think, what's bringing us together.
In Banda Aceh, another part of Indonesia, the church's joint projects with IRW are still directed towards tsunami reconstruction.
The mission of Islamic Relief is to relieve and to give assistance to people who are in need. The partnership with LDIC started at the early stages of after the tsunami. We are doing one big project, so a big part of our work is to rebuild what has been destroyed by the tsunami.
This is the first time that we have partnered with Islamic Relief on long-term disaster response. Latter-day Saint Charity's role is funder, monitor, and we've had some significant input. Their role is implementer.
On the eastern shore of the island of Sumatra, the two organizations have agreed to rebuild schools and medical facilities.
They came, they visited one of our schools, and they expressed their desire to partner with us. They gave us the funding to build these 10 schools and 3 big clinics. It's a project of $2.5 million over 1 year.
In the village of Lepun, plans are underway to rebuild a school next to a site where 600 villagers were buried in a mass grave following the tsunami.
When we went to visit the school site, we've seen that they still want their school on the same land. There was a mass grave of 600 people inside the land. And when we asked about it, they said that when the tsunami happened, that was one of the dry lands, the only dry lands in the area. So of course at that time nobody thought where the school is or where the school will be. They just buried their people in there. The authorities proposed to us to build the site with of course with the mass grave inside. We were like, wow, I mean, we all got touched about it, especially like getting in mind that the children, the children who will be in that school coming back, maybe a lot of them will have parents buried just in the same school land.
Though differing in their religious beliefs, the joint relationship between the church and IRW stands on common ground. Their faith leads them to act.
You have to combine faith with action. Like I can be a very religious Muslim person, but if I stay home and do nothing about an emergency that's happening in Pakistan or India or even in Katrina, then I'm not a true believer. So I have to combine my faith with action. And we find the same thing with LDS church members. They have their faith and they are proud of it, and we respect that, and they combine that with action.
The people who call in aren't saying that, I only want to help Christians, or I only want to help Jews, or I only want to help Muslims. They're worried about the human family and the human suffering that goes along with these disasters, and that's why they're interested in helping.
When we can even see presidents talking about crusades, and we can see radicalists talking about fighting the non-believers, when we see this kind of discourse in the newspaper, and then we see two organizations from two distinct faiths, for me are not so distinct, but from two faiths getting together. And religion is to unite people to build a better world and how to be just and fair.
As we visited with each of these organizations, we talk about the source of the funds. We say these funds are sacred and we're the stewards of them, and as you now partner with us, we hope that you will regard them in that same way.
They raise the money, for example, some in churches, and this is the money of the believers who will give to help the people. And Islamic Relief also has the same in the mosque, so the money is coming from the same channel. It's coming really by very normal people.
In addition to monetary donations and supplies, the church often assigns specialists to work with IRW and other partner organizations. These specialists, who were once doctors, lawyers, engineers, or architects, now volunteer on a short-term basis. They serve as a support to full-time missionaries in setting up contractors and maintenance committees for water projects all over the world. While in the field, they also help bridge gaps left by missionaries that have finished their 18-month assignment.
The basic concept is that a short-term specialist would be available to travel and help us set up programs at least 12 weeks a year.
Lands and Mines had to go back through and do any water tests. Every financial decision that we've made for the last probably 15 years was with a mission in mind. So we did things that would financially prepare us so that we could go and serve a mission and be able to take care of missionary costs and home costs here, and so we've worked really hard to do that.
When we told our children of the decision and the timing, you know, they weren't shocked by any way, because we'd been talking about it as a family and they'd heard us pray about it.
If it's going to be clear until March?
Well, that's a question for Ike. We received a call to be church service missionaries in the humanitarian department. And then we received this specific call to be water short-term specialists. That is done to begin with here at home with emails and phone calls. And then if required, we will travel to the country and meet with the missionary couple and help them in one of those phases of the work. And sanitation.
It's a great opportunity to help others, and these countries that we go to really need the help.
I think it's a great opportunity for David, because he's an engineer, he has worked in water, and now he can continue using the talents that was given to him and continue using them in this calling. You know, you can go and visit a country. You stay in Sheraton hotels, you take buses of touring of the city and so on. You say you have seen the country. But I think as missionaries, you get the taste of what the real country is like, how the real people live, and you meet them as people, and they are wonderful people. Anywhere you go, they are wonderful, wonderful people.
Yeah, you find out that people are pretty much the same all through the world, you know, have the same desires and needs and feelings.
And they all like to have hugs, and you know, I mean, it's amazing, you know, really.
The thing that I have enjoyed and I didn't expect was to fall in love with these people so quickly, and want the best for them, to look around and try and figure out what I could do to help them, you know, improve one aspect of their life.
And what I've seen, which is exciting, is that they catch the vision of being a community. And the excitement that they have in having something that they can take care of that will bless their lives, it gives them a vision of what else they can do. They begin to see the possibilities of bettering their lives themselves when they get organized like this, and they can see the possibilities and that they can work together and accomplish things as a community. It's exciting to see that.
The benefits that have come from using short-term specialists have been absolutely phenomenal. The quality of work by using specialists to set up the programs, the quality of the projects has dramatically improved.
Where the so-called rubber hits the road is with person-to-person, people-to-people kind of interface. And these marvelous people are there interfacing with either the victims or the purveyors of help.
Through the sacrifice of short-term specialists, the church is able to more readily meet the physical needs of those affected by poverty and disaster. In addition, the church relies on members who work without formal humanitarian assignments. Going the extra mile is a trite description of one man's struggle to relieve suffering.
Leading up to the hurricane, I was serving as the bishop of the Waveland Ward. The Waveland Ward was the ward where Hurricane Katrina went right over, made a direct pass right over the top of Waveland Bay St. Louis, Mississippi. I also, at that time, was serving in the United States Navy as a oceanographer and a meteorologist. One of the most significant problems with a hurricane is the storm surge, that piling up of water as it comes in, and it's very much akin to a tsunami. The utter devastation that was in Waveland Bay St. Louis would just bring a tear to your eye, and it was 2 months before I was able to get a handle on where everybody was in my ward.
As we can provide relief, as we can provide hope socially and emotionally and mentally, it stands to reason that there will be some more temporal and physical kind of recovery that follows.
What they need to get back to normal here is more than the physical help. They need a shot in their testimonies. They need to know that their Father in heaven loves them. My love for these people has grown. I love these people here. They're great people. They're resilient. They're resourceful. They're good-hearted people. I have established and developed bonds with these people. These people feel like my family, and I need to help them. And I know this is where my Father in heaven wants me to be. And I know that this is what He wants me to do in this particular phase in my life.
There are many individuals like Robert Garrett throughout the world, champions, who have a desire to do more for their communities and are willing and motivated to put the vision they have into motion. By investing its resources in such champions, the church can extend its humanitarian reach across the globe more than ever before.
If you can find the right champion for health, or the right champion for food production, or one that even has a broader vision of how to improve the overall development of a country, then we have the ability to do the highest quality work.
The church is always interested in making sure that patient services are functional and positive. We spend our time going around the country looking at various eye programs. As it turns out, Ridge Hospital, which happens to be our neighbor, is a fairly new regional hospital, and they struggle. Their revenue production is very small. We landed there and found out that they had a new, young, very well-trained eye surgeon who had been assigned to Ridge Hospital, Dr. Patrick Quao, and he trained in Britain and he also trained in the United States. So he's now back in the country, energetic, young, wanting to make a difference.
My vision for this clinic is to have the well-equipped or the most equipped, well-organized eye center in the sub-region. This clinic started just as a small room, just as a single room in 1997, and we've been focused and trying to form some form of collaboration with other partners, other eye care providers. I'm convinced that whatever knowledge that I imbibe there, I need to bring it back and help my people. That is why I always go and come back. I prefer to come down here and help my people.
You want the local organization to have the champion. We have to be willing and able to have a vision to see what he sees and to be willing to put your money on him.
I told Ike Ferguson that for this clinic to move forward, you see, we have a lot of patients who are blind from cataracts, who are staying in the communities, and we need vehicle to go on outreach. We don't have the resources, and the government who doesn't have the resources now to buy a vehicle for that. We want to intensify our outreach services.
Right here now. Look over here a little bit.
Blink.
Dr. Kevin Miller, an eye specialist and church member from Las Vegas, Nevada, volunteered for a week in Dr. Qua's vision clinic. In addition to providing training and performing surgeries, Dr. Miller brought with him much-needed equipment, which will help the clinic in Ghana diagnose glaucoma complications.
The church sent ahead of time a visual field analyzer, which is a very nice piece of equipment to test the peripheral vision. And he did not have one. It's an expensive piece of equipment, so that's very nice for the clinic. I also brought with me a pachymeter, which is a machine that measures the corneal thickness, and that's a helpful parameter for glaucoma patients. And that first day, I thought it was appropriate to tell him I had it. He didn't know we were bringing it, and he had put his hands in the air and just jumped up and down a little bit and said, "Yay, yay!" He was very happy.
Working with visionary champions means finding ways to realistically facilitate the change they seek. Only a few short months after this interview, Dr. Qua's clinic was furnished with a bus by Church Humanitarian Services. Now they have the beginnings of a strong community outreach program.
That's how change happens in all societies. It really almost always happens because of what local people do for themselves. And you know, there's two good reasons for that. One is that local people know a lot more about their own problems than outsiders know about their problems. And second, you have a lot better incentive to fix your own problem than you do have an incentive to fix other people's problems.
In seeking out motivated local organizations and individuals, the focus on partnering with champions is to create sustainable solutions for the future.
Development is really not about resources, but it's about relationships. And that it's not so much things that people need as they need trust, and they need encouragement, they need to share others' experience, but to make their own decisions. We'll bring about a good result if we can figure out how to put the money with the people and the principles.
Well, the rich are not made low by going in and saying, here's the solution to your problem, and I'll solve it for you, and then I go away feeling good about it. No, the gap between the poor and the rich grows bigger with that. The real solution is when we go in and we listen and we allow them to solve their own problems.
It may be that it doesn't matter in God's eyes as much as we would think it did, whether people are poor or whether they're affluent. One thing that always strikes me in Niger, where I said they were desperately poor, they were happy, laughing, smiling people.
Even with the work of compassionate champions, there is no definitive answer to the problems wrought by endemic poverty and natural disasters. Why then is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints involved in humanitarian aid?
Doing something for those considered least amongst us is a primary tenet of being a good Christian. We're not only, hopefully, good members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but we are superb Christians as well.
In doing so, we not only bless the recipients, but we bless those who are involved in giving, and we bless organizations that we partner with because of what we've seen across Asia, and especially in tsunami-impacted areas where you see people who've literally lost everything. Family, livelihood, homes, anything that was near and dear to their heart, that was the foundation that their lives were built on, has been taken away. And they are happy and rebuilding, and the excess that we've had doesn't seem near as important.
It's one of the ways to apply religious faith or religious principles by being useful to people who need you.
I prayed that I'd be able to see these people through the eyes of the Savior. And that prayer has been answered, because the Savior doesn't look at poverty like we do. And it has changed my life, it really has. So I'm grateful for that.
Close your eyes and think of the people who are living each day wondering where they're going to get food. It's hard to help the poor and the needy. Satan does not want that to happen. And so there's always obstacles. But the thing that that came through loud and clear is that there's an unseen power that is aiding this work.
I can go back to Utah where my family resides and buy a home there, sell out here and go back. But I feel like I would be abandoning these people in their time of need.
Some people say, you are crazy, why you didn't stay in the States? But I say, no, this is my place. I feel that I have to go back to my own country. In the past, somebody helped me, to be in the position to be able to help other people. Now it's my turn, to pay back.
It brings a joy of fulfillment, because what brings us joy is to be of service to the suffering. And there's no joy than helping your own people in your own environment. Being a worker in Jerusalem, helping your own people. That inner joy, nothing can satisfy that. So it's a joy that we are improving upon the lot of our own people. Our own people. So that is the joy.
When will you quit sleeping? No more time for dreaming. Stand up on your feet, the day is on. Oh, we've got work to do, and the day is almost gone.